This is episode 82, and I get to chat with Ameer, who's the co-founder of Blockgeeks, which is an amazing edutech platform. Now, this provides blockchain training for everyone and anyone, and I did probe to kind of really find out if it's for newbies, and it is. It's from newbies to really experienced people. He's got it all. And on top of that, what I loved and finding out about was he didn't intend to actually build Blockgeeks. He solved his own problem, and it just grew from there. And he was able to serve multiple people's needs. And I think that's really brilliant. It's a platform that allows and encourages people to truly explore the blockchain curiosity, regardless of what level you are or what perspective you're thinking, whether it's from investor to just you know nothing and you want to start somewhere. So we talk about how Pandora's box is completely opened around blockchain. We chat about the growth of digital gold and other industry trends. We talk about how to trade in cryptocurrencies and some tips for those newbies that want to start playing in the cryptocurrency market. And we talk even more. We end up chatting about how commodity is the most precious commodity is time. And we even go down a massive philosophical discussion about society and humans. I absolutely love this episode. You really never know where the conversation will take you, and we definitely went down into a rabbit hole. And there's so much more. Now, in this episode, there's a movie that we end up talking about, but neither of us could remember the name. I have done the research. It is In Time with Justin Timberlake. You'll understand when you hear about the episode. But anyways, I hope you hear and check it out, and I can't wait to hear your feedback. Welcome to the Can Innovate podcast, the first ever podcast designed to showcase Canadian thought leadership. These innovators share industry insights, entrepreneurial best practices, lessons learned, and other tips that we can incorporate right into our lives, our careers, and our businesses. So let's get inspired. Hey innovators, I got a really tasty treat for you today. I've got Ameer Rosic, who is in the house today. I'm pretty excited about this because not only is he the co-founder of Blockgeeks, he's also steward of Bounty One, but more importantly, he's also a serial entrepreneur and a marketing expert. So we're going to have a lot of fun to learn a lot of cool things from him. So Blockgeeks is actually an online blockchain innovation hub, which is pretty cool because their mission is to really share and grow knowledge around blockchain technology. And for those that have been following the podcast, you know I'm a bit of a blockchain kind of wannabe geek to begin with. So welcome, Ameer.
Thanks, Sapna. Happy to be here.
This is fantastic. So can you kind of tell me what exactly is Blockgeeks for our listeners out there?
Yeah, in a nutshell, it's a edutech innovation company. So basically we specialize in training everybody and anyone within the realm of blockchain. So we'll deal with like government official, Fortune 500 companies. We deal with investors. We deal with funds, crypto funds, trading desks, you name it. So everything, when I mean like everything and anything that encompasses the ecosystem of blockchain, distributed ledgers, crypto assets, tokenization, we educate people in that.
So is it for people that are already kind of existing, that are kind of familiar with it, or can like newbies that know nothing?
Newbies all the way down to engineers. Like when I say literally everybody, I mean everybody.
Really? This is kind of really genius because, you know, how did you guys come up with this idea to kind of create this kind of all-encompassing, you know, type of platform?
I actually fell into Blockgeeks by mistake. It wasn't, I didn't set out to create like an edutech company or innovation hub. I've been in crypto for a while. And at one point I got fed up. I'm not a big fan of Reddit. I think Reddit's interesting, but I just don't have time to spend in threads to thread everything together to figure out what's going on. And I'm like, where's a good non-news related website that has evergreen content that's kind of designed for the everyday person? My time is limited. I just want to read that, and it didn't exist. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to solve my own problem. And so I found some good freelancers who write good content that I can read, and then slowly I started solving my own problem. The next thing you know, I realized there's a problem. There's a lack of developers. Okay, let's create education for that. Oh, there's a lack of, education for technologists and entrepreneurs in the space. Let's create that. Oh, there's a lack of education and knowledge for, let's say, like investors or people who understand crypto assets. Oh, let's create that. So it's like bit by bit, and over time it evolved.
No, it's really brilliant because, I've got a lot of questions that come up all the time about blockchain, and they're just so intimidated because they feel like don't know where to start,
Sure.
and there is that myth that, especially with all the stuff in the, about Bitcoin in the news, people still kind of think, Bitcoin is blockchain, and they get confused what cryptocurrency is versus the technology, and they just don't understand. In fact, one of the listeners actually found out I was actually going to be chatting with you, and they asked me to ask you this question. If, around, there's so many myths around blockchain, but their question is it a fad, or is blockchain really here to stay?
The Pandora's box has opened up. It's here to stay. And it's been a while. Like Bitcoin just celebrated last year its 10th anniversary. The technology itself, when you speak about blockchain, it's not new tech. It's old tech put together. Like they've been trying to create digital cash and forms of timestamping and hashing. It's way, way before the advent of Bitcoin with Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper. So the tech's been here for the longest time. There's many different use cases for it, but Pandora's box has been opened, and it's just going to grow and grow exponentially every year.
I'm with you. Like I actually love the encryption of security, and I'm a bit of a privacy kind of fan, thanks to Dr. Ann Kavokian. That's kind of opened up my eyes about security and privacy concerns. So I'm a big, huge fan of the technology. I like how you mentioned about, there's so many different things happening, regarding in the blockchain industry. Is there one particular industry that's actually really embracing blockchain technology, or do you find it that there's multiple different people and, to your point, use cases that they're utilizing it?
Well, I think we're still tackling the original use case, and that is self-sovereign, encrypted peer-to-peer money, which is Bitcoin. That hasn't been fully solved yet. And so that's the number one use case, because if you're looking at the traditional definition of a blockchain based on Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper, it should be a censorship-resistant peer-to-peer network that no one can control, alter, or manipulate. And so that's the number one priority, at least on the high level in the space that people are trying to solve. And there's cool things like Lightning Network being built right now. But then you go down the rabbit hole, and there's many other use cases, from like cloud computing to timestamping to, let's say, like supply chain, et cetera, et cetera. But still, the number one use case is the monetary policies.
Really? I wouldn't have thought that, because there's so much, uncertainty around, the cryptocurrencies and all those things. So, because is it really regulated, or is it still kind of in that gray zone?
Well, Bitcoin, you got same thing like the word decentralization or the word regulation. That's a spectrum, right? Mm. For example, you go to Switzerland and they've regulated the allowance of ICOs, STOs, utility tokens, etc. But you go to the United States, it's in the gray. There's no law passed. The SEC hasn't come out yet and made in a final statement to say what the law is. Same with Canada. You go to places like Malta or Gibraltar or Singapore, they have passed laws. So it all depends on where you're coming from, who you're speaking to, etc. And so it's hard. There's no blanket rule that applies to all. Now, can you regulate Bitcoin? No. In my mind, the definition of regulation is there are rules and boundaries that you must play into. And if you abuse those rules and boundaries, you're punished. Now, when it comes to Bitcoin, no one can tell you that you can't participate in the network. There's many different ways you can participate. You can participate as an individual that wants to put monetary value into it, whether that is buying Bitcoin or getting Bitcoin as a loan. You can participate as a relayer within the network. You can participate as a miner. You can participate as an energy provider. You can participate as an engineer in the open source protocol. And there's no rules that can stop you from that. So it's an open source voluntary system.
It's such a fascinating whole ecosystem, because there's just so many ways you could play with it. They hear about it on the news and they know that they're kind of aware of it, but it doesn't impact their jobs. I don't know if you've heard that quite a bit. Like, blockchain's a totally different department. Well,
at least in North America, but trust me, like cryptocurrencies and blockchains impacts everyday people's lives in countries that matters. Like, going back to what I said about open source, voluntary, censorship resistant, that anyone can participate at any given time. You go to countries like Venezuela right now, Iran and Turkey, China, and places that have very strict government regimes. Like, people forget, I'm in Canada, and let's say if we're talking about like North America or Western European nations, we are the minority. We live in a decently good government, decent banks, etc. But majority of the world does not have the luxuries that you and I have. And so cryptocurrency and blockchain technology is definitely helping people in the nations that they need it the most.
That is really cool. So basically we're saying that it's kind of important for everyone, regardless of their level, or if they think that's not going to be impacting, they should kind of get a little bit more aware about what's kind of going on in blockchain.
Like with Bitcoin, it's amazing. Like, you know, at least right now, the narrative is digital gold. It's you can't seize it. It's censorship resistant. I can transmit millions of dollars or pennies on the dollar across the world within a minute. And so people have a very short memory or time span of what things have happened in the past. For example, in the States in the last 50, not too long ago, they seized your gold. It was mandatory. Give us your gold. You have all these examples around the world. I'll give you an example with my family. You know, we come from former Yugoslavia, Bosnia, Serbia, Croatia, etc. And overnight, during the Yugoslavian war, our fiat currency was worthless. I mean, completely worthless. And it doesn't matter if you had $50,000 or $1 million in the bank, that was pretty much nothing. So that's exactly what's happening to the Venezuelan bolivar right now. But imagine having Bitcoin, which they cannot seize, which they cannot tell you what to do with it. This gives you economic freedom. This gives you freedom of speech. Like when you have money that you control, that doesn't lose value, that you can transmit around the world any given time. It's even getting crazy these days. I don't even need the internet. They just did the world's first successful Bitcoin transfer without the internet on radio waves.
How does that even work?
Well, same thing like the internet. It's all data packets. Like radio waves have enough size for data packets to transfer Bitcoin transactions.
I feel like I've gone geek girl. Like, yeah, totally. Like, you've just kind of blown my mind there.
Yeah, I think the company's called Go Antenna. I don't quote me on that, but something like that. But check it out. It's amazing.
That is really fascinating. And it's really interesting because of all these types of digital currencies and stuff like that. They're trading for it. I couldn't understand, is there a way to kind of, you got the stock market, but then you've got all these types of digital currencies or cryptocurrencies itself. What else is there a place where you can actually trade back and forth easily? Yeah,
you have Kraken, which is in the United States. You have Binance, which is the biggest one. So those ones have a lot of volume, and they're trading thousands of different tokens. You can do longs, you can do shorts. Almost anything that you do in a traditional, let's say, Forex exchange, you can do on Binance and Kraken. Not almost, but there's a lot of options you have.
Is that one of the courses that you guys have at Blockgeeks?
We're actually thinking about doing some trading stuff. The thing with trading is very speed, but we do a lot of like fundamental analysis. We'll look at the network values. We'll look at the fundamentals, the principles. We'll look at what's happening with trends, both macro and micro. And so that's kind of the information we give people who are interested in investing.
Oh, I'm excited. Let me know when that happens because I'll be kind of curious to play around with that. That's for sure. So do you have any other advice for those that kind of want to, slowly tip into this blockchain because they're kind of a little intimidated?
I say just participate. I would say get any wallet. At this point, I don't even care. Like, I know there's a lot of people that care about which wallet you get. For me, it's all about just getting the first toe in the water. So get any wallet that you want and buy Bitcoin. Just get started. That's what matters most. Most people talk and like, what is this thing? I'm not telling you to buy $1,000. I'm even telling you to buy $100. Go buy $1. People forget you don't have to buy one Bitcoin. Bitcoin is divisible by like, I think 1,000 units. You know how many Satoshis. And so I was like, you can buy 50 cents worth of Bitcoin, right? Buy it and hold it on your phone. Then send that money to somebody else, maybe in your family. Like actually participate as a practitioner. Then you'll realize how amazing this tech is.
I like it. Dip your toe in the water. Yeah, I think you're right. People do forget you don't have to buy one. You can buy a partial of something. Well,
it's psychology, right? They see it as like, the hype is like, I remember $20,000 of Bitcoin. I can't afford that. I'm going to buy this other coin that's like a penny. I'm like, you realize you can buy like $1 worth of Bitcoin.
I think it's because everyone's kind of scared, right? But you see all the Bitcoin machines all around, especially around Toronto. You can see them quite in different places. I keep laughing about my little convenience store around the corner doesn't even have an ATM, but it's got a Bitcoin machine. I keep laughing at him. I'm like, don't you think you should also have an ATM as well? He's like, no, we don't want to play with it.
He doesn't make money with the ATM. He makes good money with that Bitcoin machine. He's probably getting like 6% for every dollar that comes in.
That's pretty impressive. I didn't realize it was that high. Maybe I should buy a machine and put somewhere.
Oh, it's higher some places. I've seen like 15 to 20% depending on what it is.
Do you have any lessons learned or best practices of kind of how to get a bit more courageous?
Yeah, you're going to blink, then you're going to be 60, you're going to die. You know,
that's a little dire, don't you think?
No, it's not. Humans are interesting because we value money so much, but yet we don't value the most important commodity on the planet, which is time. It's non-renewable. I can't buy back time. I can buy money. I can make more money. You can print money. There's so much money in the world, it's ridiculous, but I can't buy my time. And once you really understand that and realize time is the most important, precious resource on the planet, then your whole way of thinking and how you view the world changes.
It kind of reminds me, there was that one movie, I don't know if you remember, like I think it was like 10, 15 years ago, where you had to buy time.
Yeah, they had, what's his face was in it?
Justin Timberlake, right?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. But like in that crazy movie, you can buy time, but in our reality, we can't.
No, we can't. But it was kind of that concept of how precious of a commodity it is. That didn't matter all the money in the world. Like yes, they were able to buy it, but the people were really struggling. I can't remember the name of the movie. Listeners, don't worry. I will do some Googling and I'll find out the name of it because it's going to drive me nuts.
All of us have our own vices. All of us have certain individual experiences that we've been through, good, bad, and the ugly. But one thing is for sure is human beings are looking for experience of life. There's a question that people ask is, what is my purpose of life? Purpose is bullshit. You can't just sit here and tell me honestly that you have only a purpose in life. Like your purpose is X and that's it. And God forbid you deviate from X. You have a potentiality of many possibilities and you can do many different things in your life. I've had many different hats in my life. I'm going to have many more different hats in the future. But the one constant of all this is time. And so once you appreciate that time is a commodity and you can then figure out and map out, it's like, people have a short-term memory. You make a mistake, who gives a shit? People can forget about it, in like 30 seconds, especially now with like social media. People, there's actually a new study just came out showing like people's IQs are dropping because of social media. And so it's like, for me, it's like, I'm only 33. Yeah, I'm 33. And, for me, it's like, how do I fulfill my life how I want to do it? I'm going to blink. I'm going to be 43. I'm going to blink. I'm going to be 53. And so it's all about focusing on what makes you happy, focusing on maximizing the time and having zero regrets. I think a lot of people live in the past and have regrets. I'm like, you don't have a time machine. You can't go in the past. But what you do have is you can control the future.
No, this is brilliant because I actually find that, your statistic, that's kind of funny that people's IQ are dropping because of social media. That is fascinating and honestly not that surprising when you think about it, right? But one of the things I find is that people have forgot how to tap into their curiosity gene, to embrace that kind of like, it's okay not to know things and honestly just find out what you're kind of interested in or maybe potentially kind of curious about. And I kind of find that we've lost that kind of that oomph there.
Well, people don't experiment. Yeah. It's pretty much that's it. It's like, okay, you've drank the Kool-Aid, you went to the traditional path, and you haven't experienced life enough to have a good feedback mechanism. There's a good saying by Joseph Campbell: "He who thinks he knows doesn't know. He who knows he doesn't know knows." And so, the more experiences you can have in life, good, bad, and the ugly, the better feedback loop system you can have with yourself to figure out what you like to do, And it's like, have a million jobs, try a million things, have a million relationships, travel around the world, experience love, experience pain, experience fear, experience all these different things. And we as human sapiens, we as human beings, we're programmed this way. We are nomadic creatures, traverse the world. We've experienced the most crazy environmental changes. We've experienced both highs and lows of human civilization, and through these experiences, it shaped our genetics. And I think right now, due to the luxuries of Western nations and technology evolution, which is amazing in my mind, we've become very lazy and compliant on just following certain rules and following what everybody else does. And so I'm a firm believer in having as many human experiences as possible in your life to figure out what you care about.
These are wise words. And, speaking of wise words, when I was prepping for the interview, I came across your YouTube channel, which I thought was quite intriguing, because your topics quite vary from different things like blockchain to the motivation video. And I love how candid it is. Like, it is so colorful that, so how did that kind of come about? I mean, you started off, focusing on, was it educating about blockchain, and then...
No, God, no. People think I only do blockchain. I had my YouTube video since like 2012.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, if you go back, I was in health before my last business. I was in the health space for a very long time. My wife is a naturopath doctor. Like, I'm a geek when it comes to like biohacking and functional medicine, etc. And so a lot of my videos are health related. I used to have health businesses. I used to be a semi-pro athlete that competed professionally in kettlebells. I was an amateur MMA fighter here before MMA was legal in Ontario. And so for me, it's like whatever comes to my mind, whether it's health, is stuff that I care about. And so it's health, it's talking about psychedelics, it's talking about technology, it's talking about marketing. For me, it's like, luckily for me, I don't have to, YouTube is not a stream of income to me. I don't make money off of it. So whenever I have time or I feel like making a video, I make a video.
I love that. I love that your background is so fascinating, because you really are like... you talked about people don't experiment. Your life is full of experiments, that you're trying new things. And
you have to. Listen, I got kicked out of high school when I was at the end of grade 9. I ran many different businesses. I've had many interesting life experiences. I've been on the wrong side of the tracks. I've seen it all. I've done it all. And I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. It's just all about experiencing life and enjoying it, and that gives you that feedback loop to figure out if you're on the right path or the wrong path.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Well, I'm definitely intrigued. Are you reading or watching or listening to anything that's kind of intriguing?
I'm always reading. I'm always watching. I like Audible. Lately, I've been rereading one of my favorite books. It's Seeking Wisdom. It's by Peter Bevelin. It goes into a deep dive of Charlie Munger, which is Warren Buffett's business partner for the last 50, 60 years. It combines philosophy, Stoic philosophy, history, business examples. So I'm rereading that, rereading anything by Arthur Schopenhauer, Joseph Campbell. Those are this year, I actually dedicated myself to not even buying any new books. I'm just rereading a lot of the old stuff that kind of inspired me.
No, that's great. I actually just started a virtual book club, because I found that I wasn't reading enough. So, when I read something, I had no one to talk to about it. So I started a virtual book club.
That's great.
Yeah. We pick such a random talk. We've only done 2 sessions, and both times it's been really cool, especially to learn from other people's perspectives of what they took on the same concept. It just really blows my mind. So yeah. We've been experimenting with it. I mean, I have no idea if it's a success or not, but I actually enjoy it, because it's something we do on a Monday at a lunch hour once a month, and we all eat lunch at our desks, right?
Listen, that's something that's dearly missing from society. As technologically advanced we are, I think we are more disconnected than ever. There's actually a really good book called Connected by 2 U of T professors that goes, is it Connected? No, that's another book. It's called Disconnected, the book. And it goes into statistics and data. And actually, Jonathan Haidt, he has some really interesting studies on this too. His latest book, Coddling of the American Mind, is interesting as well. You go to your condo and you have thousands of people living there. You don't know your own neighbor. You go through life looking at your phone screen 24/7. It's an addiction. It's almost worse than like heroin. It acts on the same pathways, the dopamine pathways. And so we are becoming way more disconnected. We're not having any social time with our fellow peers. We're not sitting down to have dinner. We're not sitting down to have lunch. We're not having social clubs like this for book reading. And this is causing mental schizophrenic issues with people. This is causing people to lose their mind. We are a tribal species. We are meant to converse. We are meant to talk. We are meant to sit down and communicate with each other. And we're not doing that anymore. We're so disconnected and so isolated. It's actually scary.
You know what's even scarier is, I'm with you, the human connection is definitely broken because people don't even know how to authentically even connect, even in networking events. But in the UK, they actually created a loneliness council.
Really?
Yeah, because this epidemic is not at a generation level. It's not like, the older people are disconnected. It's all demographics are being really feeling isolated in that loneliness. And it kind of makes sense, right? Like, way back when, do you remember the thing about the girl that was most popular in school was the most lonely person in school? I don't know if you ever remember that theory. It's the same thing, right? The more and more we're connected doing all this other stuff, the more and more isolated we've become ourselves. But yeah. They created a loneliness council. And then in Canada, I was watching the news. They actually came up with this friendship bench for kids, young children, that they can sit on this bench and people will come and talk to them because they may not have anyone to play with at recess or have someone to eat at lunch. So even young kids are actually feeling very, very lonely. So it's kind of really, really sad that this is happening in such a wide perspective.
I think it's just part of evolution. There's a good saying from the biologist Owen Wilson. He states that we have Paleolithic emotions, medieval institutions, and godlike technologies. And pretty much we are the same. We're exactly the same as we were last 10,000 years from hunters and gatherers. We haven't evolved at all. We have the exact same response. Our genetics and epigenetics are exactly the same, even though some people don't like to accept those facts. And so now we have this technology, which is literally godlike. You and I have more power in the palm of our hands than the King of England did 100 years ago, which is crazy. And so we haven't adapted to this, and I don't know if we will adapt to this. And I think this is just part of evolution. There's also Buddha saying it is as it should be. There's no right or wrong. Maybe this is part of the necessary evolution of humans to figure out what is good and bad. This is our own collective experience that we're experiencing with society and technology, etc. And now we see an awakening. Like I think personally in our lifetime, we're going to have an exodus of people leaving cities. They're going to wake up and realize, like, this is a scam. This 9 to 5 kill myself is a scam. All of it's a scam. Why would I put myself through this when I can go live, off the grid in this nice commune somewhere? I'm not making that much money, but I'm fucking happier.
And that'd be an interesting concept, eh? To be able to kind of go back in time of just simplicity.
I think simplicity is needed. I'm telling you, they've done studies on this. We are, as a society, we're the most stressed we've ever been in the history of civilization.
It makes sense, right? Because they talk about depression at all-time high, anxiety at all-time high,
Suicide, everything.
It's just so heartbreaking to think that all those different types of doom and gloom. But speaking of simplicity, I don't know about you or your wife, but I kind of have hit the Mary Kondo kind of, does this give me joy bandwagon? I don't know if you've watched any of her program, but she talks about
cleaning.
Yeah. So every time I touch something, I'm like, does this bring me joy? And I'm like, no, recycling.
I'm a hardcore minimalist. Like, oh my God. I hate things. I don't want things. I don't even own a car. I don't even own where I live. I rent. I don't like things at all. I like experience. I'll spend every single dollar I have on experiences.
Okay, so what's the newest kind of fun experience that you've tried lately?
I just came back. Me and my wife went to Mexico. One of our favorite spots, Tulum. We go there religiously. It'd be like setting up nice dinners with friends. It'll be like, for example, going up to my cottage. Just like small. It's not like, it doesn't have to be like crazy experience. Like, oh, I just climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. It's like, I just went on a nice walk with some friends. We had a picnic. Like, that's a good experience.
Absolutely. I love those things. So out of curiosity, because I'm a big foodie and I love trying new places, you must have discovered some really cool hidden gems of places to eat or check out.
Yeah, in Toronto, I just went to this really cool spot that's all local, not even organic, it's next level, wild caught. Everything's wild. They forage. Everything's within the 100 kilometers, called Acton Restaurant.
All right. I have to check it out. There's so many cool little things that are happening in the city, and I'm always kind of fascinated to try new things, which seems like you and I might have the same DNA, that a whole life is full of experiments.
Of course, you have to.
Some work, some don't. You never know. You are really brilliant. I mean, seriously, how can our listeners connect with you? Because I'm sure they're going to either want to subscribe to your YouTube and everything else.
The easiest way, if they want to actually connect with me one-to-one, would be Twitter, which is just my name, Ameer Rosic, at Ameer Rosic. I live on Twitter. I won't say I live on Twitter, but I respond to a lot of people on Twitter.
I love it. I'll put it in the show notes, but Twitter makes sense for you. I can feel that,
It's a crypto community, right? That's the only reason I went to Twitter. Everyone's there. I'm like, fuck, another social media platform. Because I don't really Facebook. I'm not active anywhere. Like, I'll have it. It's like probably like half my bots are just uploading stuff there. But for the most part, like my manual time I'll spend on Twitter.
Well, I was thinking because it's just limited number of characters, so people have to get right to the point.
Exactly.
That's where I was going with it. Well, this has been an absolute pleasure. You are brilliant, such a fascinating person, and I can't wait to learn more from you.
It was my pleasure, and thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much for joining and listening to the podcast. If you enjoyed this episode or any other episode, please share with your friends and colleagues. You can share on social media, the email link, the newsletter, and so on. Let's continue to support these Canadian innovators and help them really grow into bigger brands. Awareness and knowledge is totally key. Anyways, I can't wait to talk to you next week. Cheers.